Get off the sidelines and take control of your financial future at www.tackletrading.com. Get in the game.
Once again, kind of going into the whole preparation about what's going to happen there in the marketplace. Every single week, we want to make sure we go through this process to build that game plan, and then we execute that game plan. And so the first thing that I really want to see out there in the marketplace is I want to pull up the marketplace. I'm going to analyze the marketplace from a technical analysis perspective. So here we're looking at the Thinkorswim platform. I'm just going to run down kind of a list here of the things I like to know. I like to know on a weekly basis what's gold doing, what's crude oil doing, what's the currency, the dollar index doing, what is the S&P 500 doing. So I'm going to go to just a watch list here, and I'm going to first pull up the S&P 500. Now, looking at last week in the market had just an absolute great week in the market. Real volatile though in terms of the last few weeks in the market. It bounced off your support level right here at 2040, which has been a support level in the market for, when just looking at the last month in the market, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. In the last month in the market, this 2040 level has been tested 11 times. And so when we were coming into the market last week, and I did a video last week on this over there at Tackle Trading. I hope you guys are going out there and watching all those videos that we do to help you out, get out there and apply what you're learning in this system. But in terms of this, I said, you know what, this level of support is a very important level of support, and if it can't break it, you're going to look for the market to drive back up. And as you can see, on Monday of last week, it could not break it. It drove back up in price, and it came all the way back up here to resistance. Now the question becomes now, well, we have resistance right here at 2100. We have resistance at 2117 right there. And so we're near the area of resistance. So in terms of my expectation coming into the week, if these levels can be broken, then absolutely we're going to see some buying behavior. But the more likely scenario is that these levels will not be broken, and that you should see some type of either sideways movement or some type of downward movement. And in fact, when the marketplace has already opened up, if you click on this 15-minute chart, and it hasn't done much, it opened up right here. This is your 15-minute chart, but the market's, down a point already, and that's nothing to even think about. That could be nothing that, nothing even to really concern yourselves with. But it would not surprise me in any capacity to see the marketplace either go sideways this week or do a little bit of a movement to the downside, just given the fact where we're at in terms of resistance versus last week, where were we at in terms of the support levels. So this week coming into the market, just from a technical analysis perspective, I have to do other forms of analysis as well, but this week in the market, I do expect the market to kind of hold resistance, because there's nothing out there that says it's going to break it. If it breaks it, I will adjust my techniques in the market as well. The next thing we're going to look at is the dollar index. Now, for those of you who watched the Forex report, and I'm sure many of you do. If you do not watch the Forex report, I would strongly recommend you start doing it. We had an absolute fantastic week in the Forex market last week. One of the better weeks we've had over the course of the last 2-3 months, to be perfectly honest. We basically did the same form of analysis here. Bounced off support at 97, drove back up in price. My expectation in the currency is it's going to continue to drive up in price, and that's not only because of what the dollar index is doing, but if you look at a couple of the major pairs out there, let's look at the British pound / US dollar here. If you look at this pair, you just broke a major support level at 1.47. That should continue to go down. If you look at the euro dollar pair here, you held resistance at the 110 level. It's all the way down to the 106 level. Look for that to come back down into at least the 105 level before you see any form of support forming there. So once again, when you're looking at the dollar index, I expect the dollar to continue to go up, potentially even punch her into that $1 level. And because of the weakness in both the pound, the euro, if you look at some of the other currency pairs like the Australian dollar, US dollar, it's showing some degree of weakness, but not nearly as much as the pound or the euro is. When you're looking at some of those situations, expect the dollar to continue to rally, and then expect the market to maybe hold resistance there. The next one I like to look at in preparation for my weekly routine and to get out there and make some money in the marketplace is basically looking at crude oil. Crude oil is one of the largest, if not the largest commodity in the entire world. And as you can see, crude oil is now in some degree of neutral formation. It is at a resistance point right here at the 53.50 level. So if that level can be broken, look for crude to come back up, and that would be a great time to start buying call options, selling put options on them, and we will talk about the naked put tonight in our session. But in looking at this is a great time. This is a neutral environment right now. You're at resistance, and so my expectation is resistance will most likely hold because that's what resistance does. Resistance will most likely hold, so I expect crude to come down a little bit, but if it does break out of this level right here, watch out. It could go up fairly quickly out there. And then the last one I like to look at is the overall just the gold futures contract, and that's what this is. And there's just a wide variety of randomness here. I wouldn't touch gold right now outside of selling naked puts on silver, which I still like doing every single month, and just letting those kind of roll out. But in terms of gold, we had absolutely coming back to here, had a good bearish retracement right there, but then it popped back up, and now it's just kind of hanging out. So I'm getting mixed signals on gold, which means I'm probably going to hold off on gold. So in a nutshell, the E-mini contract for the S&P 500, I am neutral on. It's at resistance. Look for resistance. So hold on. That is my expectation. In looking at the dollar index, I do expect the dollar to continue its rally this week as it did last week, and I'll talk about that in tomorrow's Forex report. And then you had crude oil. Crude oil is currently neutral, putting some pressure on resistance. If it does break out, that could be a very, very good opportunity because crude can run really fast, but my expectation is crude's going to hold resistance and potentially come down this week in the market. And then lastly, gold. In terms of looking at gold, gold's doing absolutely nothing right now, and so we're not touching it. So the first thing that I do on a weekly basis is I just go out there to the market and I just assess technically what my expectation is on the marketplace so that I can prepare to get out there and make some trades, because that's what our job is as a trader. Our job is to go out there to the market and make trades. To do that, we have to prepare ourselves, we have to get the information, and that's what we do from a technical analysis perspective. The next thing that I like to do is I'd like to go to forexfactory.com to kind of check out just from an economic reporting standpoint, what are the economic reports that are really going to drive the marketplace this week. And I like to look at all the major currency reports just fairly quickly. So for example, this week we have retail sales PPI report on Tuesday. Expect the dollar and the market to move on both of those reports. On Wednesday, you have the Europeans announcing the monetary policy. That's obviously going to drive the entire marketplace. Then you have on Wednesday, you also have the Bank of Canada reporting their monetary policy. That's going to move the Euro-Canada pair, so you could trade a news-based trade on that. Then you have the Australians with the unemployment report on Wednesday. If you're trading the Aussie dollar, that's a really good report for that one. And then in the U.S., you have the CPI report and the consumer sentiment report, as well as the Philadelphia Fed manufacturing index on Thursday and Friday. So looking at the economic report scene out there, an absolute massive week when it comes to just what's happening out there in the marketplace. And when you have this many economic reports, including the Europeans as well as the Canadians announcing monetary policy, and when you have economic reports every single day in the U.S., it can throw off technical analysis very, very quickly. However, I have seen some consistency with regards to reports. Typically, when reports come out and it's at a resistance point, it will sell. If it's at at a support level, it will buy. But a big week from an economic perspective. So you could expect some volatility, some misfires, some randomness in the marketplace this week, just given the fact that we have so many economic reports out. And then the last thing that I do in terms of my building that expectation for this week and really kind of just getting out there and preparing for the market that is I always go to the currency market, and I look at a couple currencies just in terms of if I want to trade the go to bed trade. And the currency market just opened up about 3 hours ago. It opens up when the Australians open up at 3 o'clock my time. 5 o'clock Eastern's time is when the is when the Europeans when the excuse me 5 o'clock Eastern is when the Sydney Bank opens. 7 p.m. is when the Japanese Bank opens. So the Japanese banks have been open for about an hour now. So if you're on the East Coast here and you're looking at basically making that go to bed trade here, you're going to want to look at the U.S. dollar Japanese yen pair. You can also look at the Australian dollar Japanese yen pair. So I'm going to look at the Australian dollar Japanese yen pair very quickly. And here's your open right here. It's tough to read, but it says the time frame 0. It'll say 0. That's the Australian open, and you can see a little bit of a gap here. So as you can see on the Australian Japanese yen pair that opened up, and both of them are trading right now, the initial movement was to the downside, which means the rest of the day the market should go to the downside. So something that you could do is the go to bed trade on the Aussie yen pair. If you want to look at the US dollar yen pair, same type of movement here when opened, coming up towards the downside. So I'm going to do a go to bed trade here on the US dollar Japanese yen pair, and because the initial movement was to the downside, I'm going to just say, okay, we're going to sell the US dollar. We're going to hold it through the night. I'll adjust the stop loss before I go to bed, and then I'll just go to bed. So do you see how right here is your support levels? I don't want to get in above those support levels. In fact, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative, and I'm going to put my entry order all the way down under the 120 level right there. And so I'm going to say, okay, if it goes underneath 120, get me in the trade. Okay, boom, right there. Underneath 120, I can right click, modify the order, and then say I'll put a stop loss at 120, 20, which means I'll take about a 20 pip stop loss, and then that's my order. So I have the order placed. If it does exactly what I expect it to do, then I'll have the go to bed trade. I'll adjust the stop loss before I go to bed, and so on and so forth. So the go to bed trade's kind of there, ready to rock and roll. On the euro dollar pair, if I was going to do the go to bed trade on this one, I would wait until about another 4 hours from now, because the European markets don't open up till about midnight my time. 3 a.m. is when London opens up Eastern Standard Time, but the European markets start open up through Frankfurt about an hour before the London Open. And so I'd kind of just look at, orders above this level here or below that level there. And then you know what? I'd place the trade the same way I just did on the US dollar Japanese yen pair. And I'd say, you know what? That's a good go to bed trade. That's a good weekly routine. And I'd go out there and just, now I have a game plan. I have a trade tonight, but I have a game plan. I'm executing that game plan, and then hopefully the game plan goes to according to plan. But if it doesn't, at that